New details about the murder of a 25-year-old woman found dead in a car this summer next to the man her family said stalked her.
Police say he'd taken his own life after killing Doris Aguilar and writing something in a notebook. A newly released medical examiner's report reveals what he wrote that day. True crime correspondent Brianna Whitney's here. Authorities say the truth is kind of mixed with lies inside the notebook.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, this is something we started investigating months ago. We've been waiting for some answers. We have some of those now, but it is pretty convoluted. We typically just don't get this much case detail in a medical examiner's report, but because a mysterious death investigation and missing persons investigation eventually came to a crossroads, police believe the ME needed more details than usual. The main piece of evidence inside the car, a notebook the suspect wrote in after Doris was killed before taking his own life. Now we know what it said. In the dead of summer, 2 bodies found in this car outside this Longhorn Steakhouse, eventually identified as 25-year-old Doris Aguilar, shot in the head, and lying next to her in the driver's seat, Juan Queller, who Phoenix police say took his own life after killing Doris. Inside that car with them, a notebook.
It took a little bit to get through the notebook, which offers a whole different dynamic of what happened than maybe what some of the evidence showed.
Doris, an avid gym goer, had gone missing in Phoenix on July 1st, her family launching a search for her with a private investigator. During the investigation, they feared Juan Queller was the reason for her disappearance, a man her family said stalked her. His involvement and responsibility for her death proved to be true, according to police. In the notebook found in the car with them, Juan Queller wrote this. She picked it up. She didn't know that the safety was off. I went to grab the gun and it went off. I panicked and left. I knew it was going to be my fault. But Phoenix Police Sergeant Rob Shear says that story of how she was shot cannot factually be true.
The gun itself doesn't have a safety per se. There's not that part of this gun. So obviously that's an element that isn't truthful as far as what was written down.
Queller wrote in the notebook he drove around in shock and changed her clothes so she wasn't dirty. Many entries professing love and deep feelings for her and anger she was seeing other men. He wrote, I couldn't bear to be without her in my life. But Phoenix police confirms this.
I can tell you there was no element of a romantic relationship at the time of the homicide.
Queller also writing about he and the victim's daughter.
We don't have any information that a child in common between the two.
Eventually, Queller took his own life. The 2 bodies found days after, hard to identify due to the condition of their remains. One of the last notebook entries, I hope she can forgive me. Please tell my family it was an accident. Sergeant Shear says the key piece of this puzzle they're still missing, where she was killed. At one point while Doris was missing, her phone briefly pinged in Peoria, a possible crime scene site.
Those were never definitive and a scene was never located.
While Doris's family and PI believe Queller's obsession for Doris and desire for her when he couldn't have her was motive, Phoenix PD says they're still working on that.
They have their belief of the why. Our investigators are still trying to get to that.
The hardest part for Phoenix PD here is they have no suspect interview because he's dead. There's a chance they may never find the crime scene or answers as to how Doris Aguilar's last day alive truly unfolded, but we'll continue to work to get answers for the family, even though this case will never go to trial. Guys.
So how did Doris and Juan come into contact on the day she died in the first place?
Yeah, that's still somewhat unknown, but we do know that they were found in his car outside the Longhorn Steakhouse. In this ME's report, it says he worked for Lyft sometimes and that he lived out of his car. Phoenix police said he sometimes would couch surf between friends, but was living out of his car a lot. And when he would sleep, he would park it at this steakhouse. The steakhouse right across the street from Doris Aguilar's main gym. However, her car was found in the Christown Spectrum parking lot, the mall parking lot here in Phoenix. And so there is a chance that they came in contact in that parking lot, but how was he potentially stalking her? Was there any contact? It doesn't show so on her cell phone, but we just don't know. And so not sure when they came together that day.
Yeah, I know she was living in fear of him for many months and changed her whole life around trying to avoid him. And sadly, it just worked out in the worst possible way.
Yeah, completely tragic.
Thanks for the follow-up.
Yeah.